Hey guys, Darren Asbury here with Revital Outdoors, bringing you another exciting podcast. Tonight we have Mr. Ethan Seitz. He fished the Lake Pickwick BFL tournament last year with Major League Fishing. He ended up fourth in the event, so we're very, very excited to have him talk about his tournament last year and what he predicts is going to happen this year during the BFL event. Before we get started, we want to say thank you to all of our subscribers on YouTube. Be sure, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you get notified when all of our content is dropping. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And then also, if you've never heard of Revital Outdoors, we're a premium CBD company. We have premium CBD products for all the outdoor enthusiasts. Make sure you check out our website, www.revitaloutdoors.com, for all of our information about our products, as well as if you're interested in our pro staff, you can apply for a position there. So that being said, let's go ahead. I don't want to delay this any longer. Let's bring him in, Mr. Ethan Seitz. How you doing this evening, bud?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So, well, man, fishing season's upon us. I know where you live there in the country. It's a little bit cold, but talk to us a little bit about Lake Pickwick. We're very excited to see this tournament happen this year in the BFL. You got a top 5 last year, so walk us through your tournament a little bit.
Yeah, my tournament was actually it was a whirlwind of emotions. Honestly, just the week leading up to it and everything else coming up to that tournament, it was a complete whirlwind of emotions. We got out there for Pickwick, and it was my first week with an Ultra-X, honestly. So I was going to go try it out and just try the tail race over there because it was the Wilson Dam was open all the way. It was full spill. We were fishing the tail race, fishing that horseshoe up there. So that's where around the area we were going to decide to make our tournament. But backing up a little bit before I actually left, I was working a full-time job, and there was a schedule error really in my job. Like years past, there's always been something to where like, hey, we need you working this weekend. You can't go fish. So I never had a full season of the BFLs under my belt. And this year I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm doing it. I'm putting my foot down. I got to do this if I want to do this for a living. So I just said, nothing's going to get in my way this year. And I had a talk with my manager. He wasn't going to let me off. So I was like, okay, what happens if, I'm not going to hear this weekend? And he said, well, we'll just have to let you go. And I'm like, okay, well, don't expect to see me here on Monday morning then. So I called.
Man, that's pretty rough.
It was a whirlwind. It was a big giant. I mean, it was a huge gamble for me too, because going in already leaving the house, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? That I just had all these emotions going on. So going into the tournament, I was like, you know what? Let's get out here and just get some good points. Please, let's just get some good points. Because I had a pretty decent finish up at Gunnersville too.
Right.
And so I get to Pickwick, right? We get to practicing. I'm not really doing good at all, honestly, in practice. So I'm at the hotel. I'm getting kind of stuff tied up, ready to go for about what I'm gonna fish. And they sent out the pairings. Day one partner, Ryan Salzman, boat number, check in and everything. I'm like, okay, I didn't know this guy. I've never heard of Ryan Salzman before this. So I call him and I'm like, hey, you the co-angler? He's like, co-angler. I'm like, oh crap. He's like, looks like we did the boater on boater draw, man. I'm like, oh gosh. Here we go.
Wow. Okay. So before we continue, I've never talked to a boater that had a boater on boater draw. This is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yes,
especially with Ryan Salzman, who is wired way differently than any other angler I've ever met in my life. So,
yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, to top it all off, the one turn I didn't get a link for anything. I was like, oh, great. So quit the job, got the boater on boater draw, bad practice. I'm like, great, this is gonna go well. I was
dude.
I was like, I guess I'm gonna just stop tying up stuff and just bring a tackle box full of stuff. And we got to talking and everything. And granted, I did not know who this guy was. I was fishing out of my 1993 champion 190 with a 1997 Mercury EFI 200 on it.
Oh, I'd have told Ryan, we're fishing out of my boat. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. Like, right. I was like, well, man, I've never done this boater on boater draw before. I don't know if I want to do. And he's like, dude, I guide on this lake. I got a wrapped 2021 Phoenix 921 Elite. And I was like, okay, I'm not about to let this guy. I'm not about to handicap.
That was probably the better decision, but
put him in my old boat. So I got with him, and we did the check-in, we did the national anthem, all that pre-blast off stuff, and we finally hit it. We made the left coming out of McFarland Park there, and we went and fished the tail race. And my gosh, did I learn so much up there watching, and how he dissects that high current up there. It was just a fun time. I mean, just hitting it off with him, really, because we got to talking. Because before this tournament, I was at a very low point in my life. I'm not going to dive too much into what happened, but it could have really messed me up,
Wow.
financially, everything, the way people looked at you and everything, really. It could have really messed me up. So in this tournament, I was like, good Lord, I need a break. I need a break, please. And so I got paired up with Ryan. I told him the story on all that. He was actually the first person I told on what all went down about a month before this tournament. And turns out, I mean, I'm in the National Guard. I'm going to commission this coming May as a second lieutenant. Turns out he went that same exact route as me, went through the ROTC programs, commissioned, and now he's in the National Guard. He spent 11 years there, got out as a captain. So it was really cool that we had like that kind of similarity right off the bat. And he got on a good pattern. He got on a pretty good pattern getting the smallmouth. He was throwing his true bass, 4.5, 5.5s, and that current and the citron color. He also threw an XD crankbait. I think it was a 5XD. He had that, and then he had his true bass it's a spitter bait. It's I don't know, I forget the name of it, but it's got like 3 blades on it. It's pretty sweet spinner bait. You can find it on their website. He was through that a lot too. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to learn as much as I can from this guy. And I thrown a primetime staple white Z-Man jackhammer chatterbait with a white Yamamoto Seiko trailer, and I got on a very good largemouth bite right behind him. So, I mean, we were catching fish after fish up there. We eventually worked our way up to 5. He caught the first fish of the day. It was a whole lot of fun. I caught a 5.98 pound smallmouth up there with a DT10 right next to like a stump where the current kind of broke in and it broke the current right there where that stump was at. I caught that smallmouth. Ryan helped me land it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the biggest it's to this day, it's my PB smallmouth. Fishing the tail race again. We went to the other side of the horseshoe where I pitched that chatterbait in, and that landed me another about 5.5 pound largemouth at about 21.9, I think my weight was, for 4th place. So it was a really good day. Ryan cashed a check that day as well. I forget his weight though, but we had such a fun day, and we stayed pretty much the entire day from McFarland to Wilson Dam. That was our little term, just in that area of the water there.
So explain a little bit more about what the fish were relating to. Sounds like you were catching pre-spawn fish, fishing a little bit deeper, throwing a 10XD. You were throwing a big chatterbait. So tell us why those fish were there. What were the structure you were relating to? Was it on a main lake point, secondary point? Was it a rock, brush piles? Like, why were those fish there?
I would say what we were fishing really was the slack water. Like if you were to see the current rolling down, you were to see where it would bend and the breaks in it would be. That's where all the fish were relating to for us. Ryan caught some of bigger smallmouth actually in like the actual current itself, just bouncing a swim bait off the bottom, almost as like a decoy bait, really. But he bounced that swim bait off the bottom. Sorry?
How deep?
I'd say, I don't know really up from where he was at. I would say maybe 10, 12 foot deep up there, I'd want to say. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to his graph up there. I think he told me at some point. I didn't catch it. Everything was a blur that whole day.
Right.
For this Pickwick tournament though, coming up, yes, you're going to have, if the dam is spilling, you will have some guys in the top 10, top 15 catch them out of that tail race at the dam. But the way this tournament's setting up, it is going to be a pre-spawn shootout for sure. Your DT6s, your DT10s, Frittside 5s, lipless crankbaits, rattle traps, chatterbaits. It's going to be a pre-spawn shootout.
So you predict anglers are going to be fishing predominantly deep?
I would say, yeah, I could say, you could say deep, really. I'd say about secondary points, even as far as up shallow, really, even. But yeah, like your DT6s, your rattle traps are probably going to be your two main players. Also, XD, something about the fish on Pickwick Lake, how they react to an XD crankbait is just, I can't just explain what it is. It's kind of like fish on Chickamauga, how they like the Timmy Horton Azuma crankbaits so much on
Right.
Chickamauga Lake. It's something about Pickwick. They like the XD crankbaits.
So let's say there's an angler out there that maybe is coming to Lake Pickwick to expand their experience on fishing lakes. They've never fished Pickwick before. You're talking about pre-spawn. You're talking about big crankbaits going deep. You mentioned secondary points. What are some other factors that you would look into, like structure, or you're relating to the current breaks with the river channel or anything like that? Or you've got to experiment. You've got to get on those graphs. You've got to find those brush piles. Like, what is it that could like narrow people in?
I would say like pretty much pick a big creek that's going to be like one of your main like spawning areas. Like, so if you got areas that are in the back of creeks that are nice, shallow flats, like where fish are going to actually, I'm saying like shallow, where fish are going to actually get up and go spawn, I would say you'd find the secondary, to take that area and find the secondary points in it. That's where you'll already kind of get some of those and maybe even, I wouldn't say for this tournament, but later down the road, you're going to have pre and post spawners mixing up on these points. And that's where you're really going to make some money off of them.
Okay. Okay. Does hard bait color matter? I mean, no, Pickwick, is all about the shad pattern. So are we talking about sexy shad, chartreuse shad, or does color even matter?
Color does matter, in my opinion. Really, just keep it simple. It's nice to have a box full of 100 different colors of crankbaits, but if you got like 3 or 4 good colors that you know are going to work, depending on the watercolor and what they're eating, and you're confident in those, then that's going to work for you. Me personally, with this time of year coming around, it's hard for me not to throw red, especially with this pre-spawn bite coming around and everything. The Rapala Demon color, that's probably my go-to staple color that I've always been throwing this time of year.
Okay, perfect. So you mentioned a lot about reaction baits, especially on those secondary points, catching pre-spawn fish. What about the finesse guys? The guys that like to maybe throw a jig or a Carolina rig or a big shaky head. Is that something you would also, factor in if you're locating fish, or will you just stick to reaction baits and just run and gun?
Don't get me wrong. I love to throw some big soft plastics offshore. I love to get on that finesse bite, like a shaky head drop shot. Which yes, it can work when the bite gets tough. There is nothing stopping you from doing it. I mean, if it's biting, and you're going to make money off it if you're confident in it. But for me personally, this time of year, I'm a big time crankbait guy. I like to move. I like to cover a lot of water. So that's going to be what I'm going to go to. 90% of the baits on my front deck when I blast off will be hard baits and reaction baits.
Okay. So let's say you had been able to fish your own pattern, your own style last year. How many places would you have gone throughout the day? Are you like sit down, lock down, and fish for them? Or are you a run and gun guy on Lake Pickwick?
It really depends. Now that I've had to experience the tail race, we sat at the tail race for a long time. We watched guys come in and leave and not catch nothing, and then after they left, we started catching them. So if I'm going to hit the tail race, then yes, for sure. If it's spilling and there's a good tail race up there, then yes, for sure, I will be sitting. That's where I'll spend most of my day. But then again, it's nice to run and gun, but you just got to know when is the right time to make that movement, because you can burn through 50 gallons during one day and not catch a fish, or you can sit there all day and not catch fish and not make the right run. It's all about using your time wisely.
Okay. So, well, Ethan, you've given us a lot of great information. Again, congratulations last year on your top 5 finish at Lake Pickwick. Any final thoughts? Any last people you'd like to thank? Friends, family, sponsors, anybody like that? We just want to give you the opportunity to do that.
Oh, thank you. Gosh, I have a long list of people to thank, but firstly, biggest is my mom and dad, my friends and family. Like you guys know who you are that support me from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate each and every one of them because they're always there at weigh-ins, 5 fish or no fish. And a big shout out to Ryan Salzman. I learned so much with him that day when we went out. And long story short, that tournament in March, we fished out of his boat. That same boat's sitting in my garage right now, owned by me. So it's
Wow,
a pretty cool little. He really helped me out on that. So big shout out to Ryan. Pete Ballishan, he's my travel partner this year. Big shout out to him. He's always helping me. I'm always helping him. We're always bouncing ideas back and forth from each other. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all the people I got to thank. They know who they are. They do amazing stuff for me. They really keep my spirits up when I have a bad tournament, and when I have a good one, they're right there with me, blowing the air horns and shooting the confetti cannons.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, one final thought before we let you go for you yourself and for Ryan Salzman. We just want to take this time at Revital Outdoors to thank you for your service, as well as all of the service members out there, both active and retired. Just thank you for everything that you've done for our country. Thank you for your service. And Revital Outdoors offers a 50% discount to all veterans. Shoot us a message on our website. Shoot us a message on one of our social media platforms, either Facebook or Instagram. We'll be happy to give you that discount code, get you set up. So thank you for your service. And Ethan, it's been an honor having you on. We hope to hear from you again very, very soon, because that means you're having a phenomenal year.
Hope
And
so.
from all of us at Revital Outdoors, we just want to wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. So from all of us at Revital Outdoors, I'm Theron Asbury. You've been talking to Mr. Ethan Seitz. He got, again, the top 5 finish last year at Lake Pickwick, so we're very, very honored to have him on. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you get notified when all of our content is dropping. Be safe out there. God bless, and we will talk to you soon.